Welcome back to the Rock and Roll channel. We're joined by a very, very special guest tonight. Before the college football season, I wanted to talk with other experts about other teams because there's more than just Florida State out there, people. So I got in touch with this gentleman here, Jay Stevens from Locked On Buckeyes, and we've had some great chats leading up to tonight. So I wanted to bring him on and talk about the Ohio State program, the team. I told him how I was at the Ohio State Michigan game last year. Sorry, um, and just get his thoughts on where the team is heading into fall camp and Texas coming up. You guys are not messing around right away, which I love.
No,
Jay, welcome to the show, man. What's the mood around the program now? Because all right, you won the national title, you beat four fantastic teams to get there to win it. But unfortunately, you have that Michigan loss. What is the fans feeling about Ryan Day? Have the national title make up for the Thanksgiving weekend?
no, it didn't. Well, yes, in a way. I'm going to go to there in a second. But I think for the Ryan Day thing, people are pretty comfortable with Ryan Day for the most part. He's done a lot of winning. I believe he's coached in 80 games. He's won 70 of those matchups, which is a superb way to start your coaching career. Even after in his second year, he kind of he had to adjust to COVID and not thinking there was going to be a season, and then figuring out there is going to be a season, but then having to deal with all the testing and abnormal schedules
Yeah,
for the year, then abnormal practicing and players having to go to class and having to deal with all that. Like that year was a lot for even a season coach. But even for
right.
a young coach, that kind of thing can get you off of your rocker and cause you to not want to coach anymore. But Ryan Day really tackled that very well, made it to the national championship game that year. But then after that, 21, 22, 23, and 24, Ohio State's lost to Michigan 4 straight years. I can't remember the last time that's happened. That's I think the John Cooper era was the last time that happened where
Right.
Cooper just literally couldn't beat Michigan, couldn't figure them out. He did beat them, but it was a real struggle for him. Well, for Ryan Day, it's been a real struggle as well. The only time Ryan Day has beaten Michigan was with the guys that were recruited by Urban Meyer in 2019. They would have won in 2020, but there was no game. So you get 4 straight years of Michigan winning. And I don't think it's weird because I sit in a weird spot when it comes to the national championship win and losing to Michigan. I think losing to Michigan makes your season successful. I don't think it fully covers up the loss to Michigan. And I want to say that very clearly and plainly because a lot of people, there are even players that may think, well, that kind of covers up that loss. It doesn't. Because in about 20 years, Jack Sawyer, Will Howard, and other guys that were there during that 4-game stretch where they lost to Michigan, they'll look back at their career and say, "Well, Grandpa, what you do in college? Well, you won a national championship. I may have a Big Ten ring in my drawer, but what did you have anything bad happen to you? Well, yeah, I don't have a pair of gold pants. What are those? That's what you get for beating Michigan. So you mean to tell me you won a national championship, you won the Big Ten title, but you didn't beat your biggest rival? Yeah, what happened? They're better than us. Well, didn't they have a cheating scandal? Yeah, but they were still the better team. Like, I have no problem saying that. But that's where you are with Ohio State and Ryan Day. Where I think for Ryan Day, it looks more relaxed right now. He looks very comfortable with what happened last year, which is great. Like a little bit of a big monkey's off his back winning the national championship. But there's still a big, big monkey on his back still because he can't figure out how to beat Michigan with the guys that he's recruiting. This should be the year that Ohio State snaps the 4-game losing streak. I don't know if it will be because for some reason, Ryan Day does a great job in the regular season coaching it in big games. Beat Notre Dame in Notre Dame Stadium, beat Notre Dame in the shoe. This year, Texas week 1. I think Ryan Day is going to be a really good regular season coach. Should be good against Texas week 1. I don't know what it is about those colors and that helmet that gets him spooked. So I don't know what to expect this year in that game. But no, sorry, I got a little off. But that
No,
does
that's
not
fine. That's fine.
that national championship win, I don't believe fully covers up
Okay.
that loss to Michigan. It does make the season successful,
Mhm.
but we're still talking about this is what, July. It's the middle of July. We're talking about a game that happened last Thanksgiving weekend. It's
Yeah.
because it's that big of a game. And Ryan Day has to figure it out because if he doesn't, he's going to be on the hot seat very, very soon.
Because that was my first experience at Ohio State Michigan game. I've done tons of Florida State Miami games. I've done some Florida State Florida games. This was a different animal, this game.
Yeah.
I was impressed. And so many fans were leaving. Well, we better win the national title now, or he's done. Like it wasn't even like, man, let's see what we can do in the playoffs. It was we better win, and you guys did. But that's the incredible part is the playoffs have changed that where you can lose that type of game.
You
And I mean,
keep
think of
you yeah.
'96, undefeated all year, lose that one game, and it was it. And we've been there too. So that was what I've been wondering that all season. So you're the first person I asked what the mood was there about that, because I think he's a great coach. I think he's top 3, top 4 coach, without a doubt.
I think so it's weird because I feel like Ryan Day, he's figured out how to recruit really good quarterbacks. He has Brian Hartline locking down the receivers. You got Larry Johnson on the defensive line. You're having a great up and coming coach in James Laurinaitis with the linebackers. I think he does a great job of filling in the assistant coaching staff to fill in the holes where he's not great. I don't know if he's really great with picking things out on the Buckeyes defense. He knows how to torch the opposing defense, but I don't know if he really has figured out the defensive side of the ball. He's shifted some things a year ago, but I don't know. Like when I say great, and there's a like top tier great coaches, I think in today's game he's great, which I can get on board with that. He is a top 2, top 3 coach.
Yeah,
It'd be very, very difficult for me to be on board with anybody other than Kirby Smart or Dabo Swinney being a better coach or current coach today than Ryan Day. If you want to say Dan Lanning, no. If you want to say somebody else, I'd probably say no because Ryan Day's done a lot of winning. He's been very successful.
And he recruits at a high level every year.
He does. It's crazy. He's figured out recruiting a lot quicker than some coaches figure it out in their first 10 years. But he's been able to pick up where Urban Meyer left.
You have a fan here. You have, sorry.
I know him.
That's one reason I put it up. Sorry, I hope that threw you off.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, so we were talking about Ryan Day. I think he's an excellent coach. Obviously, I've always said, even with Bowden and Florida State, and sorry if I keep going back to Florida State, is you're judged on how you do against your rivals.
Mm-hmm.
We could win 10. Like Bowden used to say in the 90s, I would rather beat Florida than win the national title. Miami, Florida, I'd rather beat them than win the national title because you got to live with that every year. And I think that's the impression you're giving me as well. But national titles, yeah, it's nice. It comes and goes, but beating Michigan forever.
I think so. Beating Michigan's big. It's weird because Ohio State, like you said, the rivalry is so different than anything else that's ever happened. Growing up, to me, it was Miami and Florida, or Florida State, Miami. Any of those trio of teams, schools in Florida, I was like, this is what it's all about. Right. Ohio State, Michigan was bigger back then than I think that rivalry was down south. I wasn't fully into the rivalry. You got to beat Michigan. Like for a coach at Ohio State, you can keep your job by winning a national championship. You still got to beat Michigan. And if you don't beat Michigan, that's a bad mark on your resume. So let's just say Ryan Day over the next 10 years wins 2 more national championships. That's really good. 2 in 10 years is great. But in that same span, if he only beats Michigan 4 times that's not good. That's not good at all. So as great as it is for him to win 2 in 10 years as a head coach winning a national championship, it's really, really bad if you only win 4 out of 10 in that same time span. So, like, it's weird to describe it to someone that's not in it because people sound crazy. You mean to tell me that winning your rival is so important that people will look 20 years in 20 years will look back and say, well, yeah, that's a bad mark in your resume. You won a national championship that same season, but you lost to your rival. It's hard to comprehend one game meaning so much, but the 12-team playoff, it doesn't erase it, but you can still do big things and have a successful season if you lose to them.
That's what I was going to say. It's a different time in college football. In the past, you played them last weekend every year, just like we play Florida, and that made or break your season. Now, it's not – I mean, we're going to see in a few years from now, mark my words, a team might go into that rivalry weekend and rest a few players because they know they have the conference championship game in the playoffs. I'm not in that one. Ohio State, Michigan.
Oh, yeah, no.
But other rivalries, I would not be shocked.
How would you feel if Florida State rested players against Florida.
Livid.
I'd be the same way if it was like Ryan Day resting players against Michigan because he knew that they already had the Big Ten championship appearance locked down. They already had a high seed in the playoff lockdown. I'd be the same way because you just don't do that.
I agree. Now, I also would be interested in the player's health leading into that. If I knew he
Yeah,
was on, if he's 50% and we can get him at 80 or 90, then for the conference, then I'd think about it. But just because, let's give him a week off, because I know, and you know this, us beating Florida or Miami is huge in recruiting.
yeah. Oh,
And
dude,
for
big
you
time.
beating Michigan, that loss, even if you go in the playoffs, it really is huge in recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take that game as seriously as a playoff game. So I would be livid if Norvell did that.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't mean to take over your show, but that was just a quick question.
that's a great question. No, take it over. I don't care. So we talked about that. Let's talk about the team a little bit
Yeah.
because first thing I'm going to ask, and I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, is your quarterback Julian Sayin. He
Mm-hmm.
basically left the team meeting with Kalen DeBoer at Alabama and got on the plane to Columbus, and has been there since. What has his progress been like that? I see he's running with the first team right now, or on the unofficial depth chart.
Yeah, correct. Unofficial as it can be because Ohio State doesn't put out an official depth chart. Ryan Day at the end of spring practice said that it's a 2-horse race. It's neck and neck between Julian Sayin and Lincoln Kienholz. To me, it's very much coach speak. You don't want to tip your hand and show who you think the guy is going to be to call the shots in the fall. So you're trying to keep it as close to the vest as you can. Ryan Day probably will not announce a QB1 until about a month from now, middle of August, but probably between August 10th through 14th is when Ryan Day will announce who the starting quarterback is going to be. Even with Texas being week 1, he's not going to announce that any earlier than he has to, which is great for Ryan Day because he doesn't have to. You can do everything behind closed doors. You can do everything in the film room. You can do everything on the practice field where people can't look. You keep the media out of there. And I think Ryan Day is going to pick Julian Sayin to be the starting quarterback. Kienholz is the older quarterback. He's more athletic. Sayin is the better processor. His throw looks a whole lot better. There's a certain look and a spin and a pop off his hand when he slings the ball around. And I think Sayin's going to be the guy. Here's the thing with Texas week 1 that kind of worries me about Ohio State having a first-time starting quarterback is that it's Texas and they want revenge. And it's not so much revenge like Oregon wanted revenge after Ohio State Ohio State wanted revenge over Oregon. Well, there are teams out there that want revenge because, well, they lose to Ohio State. Texas wants revenge because they were on the verge of winning a national championship. And I firmly believe if Texas somehow beat Ohio State that day in the Cotton Bowl earlier this year, they would have beaten Notre Dame to win the national championship. I believe Texas was that good. So it's not so much Texas wants revenge. They want revenge not just for losing, but because they were really close to winning a national championship. For Sam being a first-time starting quarterback, the privilege and benefit for him is a lot of the guys that are in front of you that are blocking for you got a lot of great reps and snaps in the playoff last year. And so for him, he's young, he is inexperienced, he has not started at all. I don't believe he's thrown over 50 passes, so he's truly green. That makes me nervous, not gonna lie. I think the benefit is that Ryan Day has gone in this before, where he's had to prepare a quarterback for a big-time season opener against Notre Dame a couple years ago. Literally, now Stroud had a full year starting under his belt, a little bit different, but Ryan Day knows what it takes to prepare for a week 1 matchup. That's a marquee matchup. It'll probably be a top 3 at worst. Ohio State probably 3, Texas maybe 2. I don't think Ohio State will be ranked higher than Texas in the preseason poll. It's just my thoughts.
It's a top 3 matchup. Definitely be.
Top 3 matchup, and I think Ryan Day is going to prepare him very well for the game. I think saying by games 5, 6, and 7 will be able to come into his own, figure things out, get his feet under him, especially after handling a big test against Texas. I do think that Sand will be fine, but I do expect some early growing pains, not only against Texas, but also once the Buckeyes start their Big Ten slate. I do think he'll struggle. And honestly, call me crazy, I want him to struggle early. Get those struggles out early in the year so that when it comes down to the Penn State game or the game against Michigan, or even before that, the game on the road at Camp Randall,
Yeah.
you know how to handle adversity. You know how to go on the road in the Big Ten. You know that you have reps and snaps that you threw an interception on one drive. You came back, went down 85 yards, slinging the ball down to Jeremiah Smith for a 25-yard touchdown pass, and you bounce back from that against somebody else earlier in the year. You know how to do it against big-time opponents in hostile environments.
That's a great point. I think he will be the guy, but like I said, you don't have to say it because and with you guys, you know Arch Manning is the guy, so you can prepare your defense the whole time. It's not
Here's the
even.
weird thing.
I think he might not announce till that Monday or Tuesday of the game because he really doesn't have to.
Me and Ryan Day.
Yeah, I would not be shocked. It'll be
Yeah,
a it'll be the worst kept secret, but I think he would do that. He's a very tactical guy.
I think he'll do it early, probably in the dates that I mentioned, only because if he waits that long, the Ohio State media are going to ask him 1,000 different ways who the
Mhm.
starting quarterbacks are going to be.
Okay.
And I can think off the top of my head, I don't know if there's probably 30 to 35 media inside of a press conference, from newspapers to digital media to TV stations, radio stations. I don't think Ryan Day wants to handle those questions the week of the game. If he can try to knock that out two
It's
to
true.
3 weeks prior to the game being kicked off, he will. But if he does decide to wait a little bit longer, and if he's comfortable going into a press conference knowing that Tim May or Dave Biddle or Patrick Murphy or some of those guys that have been seasoned vets covering Ohio State will try to trip him up, and try to figure things out. If he's comfortable with those guys asking a lot of those questions that he's trying to avoid, cool, go ahead and do it. But I don't think Ryan Day is going to do that. I personally don't. Now, I could be wrong. I've been wrong numerous
Yeah,
times. I'll be wrong
makes sense.
again, but I think it's going to come between the 10th and 14th of August.
That makes sense. How is Ryan Day with the media? Because that's always a bone of contention with our coaches at Florida State. Does he have a good relationship with them, or does he have rules in place they have to follow? I mean, how is he typically?
He's pretty good. This is going to sound kind of crazy, but it's a lot
Oh,
easier
please.
with the It's easier for him with the media when he just won a national championship. Now, he's already had a
That's
great
true.
relationship with the media in general, but it's a whole lot easier when you're going into a presser and you just won the national championship. You have a top 5 recruiting class in the country. I mean, things are going pretty well for him as a coach. But even before that, he was pretty accessible. There were numerous people in the media that have interviews with Ryan Day, people with national media that can come in and interview Ryan Day. He's actually been one of the easier coaches to talk to and to get to know. He At times he may seem like he's a little bit different, but honestly, a coach at that level getting
Yeah,
paid what 12 or 13 million dollars, knowing that you lose a game against Michigan, your kids might not go to school for a couple weeks because going to school they might be in harm's way. I mean, it's that bad for sometimes when you lose to that school. So I think Ryan Day has figured out the Michigan thing as far as protecting his family, figured out the media, figured out what to say, what not to say. He's been pretty good with the media. I'm not going to lie. He does use a lot of coach speak. You have to kind of figure out
yeah.
how to read what he is saying, and is it actually what he's saying, or is there another message behind the words he's using. He also forces you to ask pretty good questions, because the better questions don't get the verbal tap dancing. He will just immediately go right to the answer to the question you ask. So I think he's pretty good with the media, honestly. I would expect him to be better. In press conferences, the SID at Ohio State, Jerry Emick, does a really good job of keeping order and pointing people out, calling on names in their media affiliation. So it's not just someone trying to talk over somebody to get their question across. There's an order to it, which I think helps Ryan Day not look crazy and not stumble over words when he's behind the podium.
That's so key because, I mean, I won't keep bringing it back to Florida State because Norvell has rules at his press conferences, and his whole thing was, I don't know if you knew about Mike, was he would allow media to come to practice and watch the whole thing
Mm,
until this spring. I don't know if you know. So that was they could watch the whole practice, everything. But the rules were they couldn't report on the depth chart injuries or formations.
wait, so you can't do your job?
Pretty much, you couldn't do any of that. You could say, "Oh, this guy looked pretty good today," but you couldn't say like Yeah, this quarterback was running with the ones. This quarterback was running with the twos. This guy was hurt.
Like that's not even
It didn't make
like
sense.
that's not even like elite level reporting. That's literally I'm walking on the field. This is the one group. This is the second team. This is the
Right.
third team. The guy with the first team is wearing that number. That's just literally me walking out there and observing what's going on. That's not
Yes.
even me doing top tier reporting. It's just elementary stuff.
I 100% agree. I hated it for years because I want the reporters to cover the team.
Yes.
Brutally honest. I don't want you to sugarcoat things because you don't want to A, lose access, or you can't do A, B, and C. Because he was livid. There was a practice in Jacksonville where somebody didn't know the rules and happened to attend the practice and said, "This player got carted off. Are they okay?" And he's like, "I don't know if our SID told you the rules. We don't talk injuries." So Gus Malzahn coming in has changed. They had no access in the spring, um, which I was thrilled about. A lot of media
You
people
were.
were upset because they've been spoiled for 5 years.
That's a college thing though that I understand why coaches do it. I think at some point, whenever there is this governing body that governs a sport, I think you're going to find that they're going to say media can go to practice. Sorry, coaches, you can't have all the power. Media can go to practice. Media can discuss things that are happening with players that are injured. Now, they may try to sugarcoat and say, well, this player hide who the player is,
Yeah.
but with Ohio State not putting out a depth chart, you can still find out what's going on with the depth chart. You can still find out who is
Mhm.
hurt. When Steph McLaughlin got hurt during late in the year last year, there
Yep.
are people that are talking about that immediately that evening because they got text messages and there were emails sent out that weren't from the school, but it was just sources that were doing their relaying information. So
Right.
I get it, but it's an injury. If the local beat reporters don't get it, a national guy's going to.
That's the
And do you,
thing.
and if you okay, if the local guy at the newspaper doesn't talk about it, Pete Thamel might tweet it out the next day. You're not going to get mad at Pete Thamel.
Or
You're
Brett
not.
McMurphy in this case.
No, you're not
No.
going to.
No. And nowadays, these players have management and representation.
Yep. Yep.
They're finding out stuff and they're
Uh huh.
relaying stuff to media. It's not just the families and the coaches anymore.
No, no, not at all.
So,
Not at all.
or the high level booster source. So that's why you're gonna find out eventually anyway.
Yeah.
I never liked that personally, and I'm not in the media. I'm just doing my YouTube stuff, but I didn't like that because I felt they gave him a pass for a lot of last year because of the access, and they said that had nothing to do with it. It did. I mean, if Ryan Day is in the middle of a 2-10 season, I mean, the media will be relentless on him,
Oh gosh, I don't. I don't.
and rightfully
I
so.
don't
Shudder to think, right? But
if Ryan Day had a 2-10 season, this isn't me being trying to be mean at all. I just know how that man handles losing. He would lose his mind. Like
yeah.
absolutely lose his mind. And so thinking about Ryan Day during a 2-10 season, I'd be worried for his wife. I'd be
Oh,
worried for
wow.
his kids. I'd be worried for his personal health. Because if you think Urban Meyer, he's not the Urban Meyer psycho, like psychotic with the
Yeah.
coach. He's close. He's very, very close as far as the desire to win and not handling losing very well. I think there's a reason why Ryan Day is a head coach in college versus the NFL. Because in the NFL, you're going to lose more. In
Yeah.
college, you're going to lose less, especially being at Ohio State with the way that he recruits
Right.
and develops talent. You're going to lose less, which is better for him and his health. If he's in the National Football League in
Oh,
a 17 game season and you go, what was it, 10-7? That's not good. That's not good. You're, that's not good at all. So,
oh,
yeah, he would not handle a 2-win season very well.
that's the Saban effect.
It is. It is.
It's Nick Saban effect. I'm better in college than the NFL, especially when you learn it. But that being said, I figured I'd go into. Would you prefer going into the depth chart first, or okay, the unofficial one, or the schedule?
Let's do depth chart first.
Let's do that. I think that makes sense. Okay, this is from a website I found. If it's inaccurate or wrong anyway, please correct it. Okay, offense. Let's get into Jeremiah Smith real quick.
Mm-hmm.
He played high school ball about 15 minutes from where I live.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I live in the
Oh, wow.
yes. So I knew about this young man for a while.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody did. He was number one player in the country. I honestly think, and I'm not saying that because you're in the air, I tell this to everybody, the best receiver in the country right now is not in the NFL. It's in
Wow.
Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
There's not another receiver I would want catching balls from for my team than this guy. Nobody in the NFL right now, and obviously nobody in college. I think he's gonna end up being your best receiver of all time to come out of there. And I told that to the famous Buckeye guy before the game last year, and he said to me he already is. Um, what is it like covering this guy? What is it like watching him? What have you learned from him? What have you I mean, what's been your impression of him besides his unbelievable talent on the field?
I think the best thing about Jeremiah Smith, it as great as the talent is, I think he's a better person. He's more mature than the average 17 or 18-year-old young man. And this isn't just like, I'm not knocking people that are that age at all. Don't get me
No.
wrong. You're that age, you have to. I mean, everybody grows up, be 17, 18, 19 years old. Most people are able to live that long on earth. So he's very, very mature. And he came in with a different mindset. He wasn't coming in cocky. He wasn't
Mm,
coming in leaning on his talent. He wasn't coming in being a talented, high 5-star kid that wasn't able to put the work in. He was named an Iron Buckeye for, I want to say, summer workouts leading into fall camp before his freshman year of playing football at Ohio State. This is before fall camp started. So I believe it was summer workouts in between spring ball and fall camp. He was named an Iron Buckeye for the workouts, for his mentality. And that's a very, I call it prestigious honor to get. You're only going to get 6 or 7, maybe 8. I mean, maybe 8 guys. That's a lot. A lot of times you try to get more 3, 4, or 5 guys that are truly Iron Buckeyes. But Jeremiah Smith came in and just got to work, put his nose down. He quickly transition from the high school game to the college game, and was just amazing to watch. Now, I don't think he had a game with more than 10 receptions. I don't think he had a double-digit reception game. I don't think he had a game with 3 receiving touchdowns. So it's not like he's coming in with 10 catches, 185 yards, 3 touchdowns, adding in a couple carries for about 42 yards and another tutty. He's not doing that. But what he is doing is everything they ask him to do.
yeah.
Now, last year he was very fortunate to play with Carnell Tate and Emeka Buka and Brandon Ennis, 3 guys that made his job a whole lot easier than it could have been, because Jeremiah Smith could have come in, got single coverage the entire time. Okay, no, he's really that dude. Okay, double coverage. Okay, well, some schools are able to put 3 guys on him like Texas did. Only game he had 1 reception. But if it was a 1 guy or 2 guy covering him, Jeremiah Smith is good enough to beat him. And I
Oh,
think Jeremiah Smith quickly connecting with Will Howard last year,
mm,
a quarterback that really to me was not a good thrower before he got to Ohio State. I was not impressed with Will Howard's arm at all. I was kind of puzzled when Ryan Day, it was announced that Will Howard was transferring to Ohio State. And I'm thinking, okay, this guy 6'4", 240, can run like a deer on the football field, but he's not a good passer. He didn't fit the normal makeup
yeah.
of a Ryan Day quarterback. But Jeremiah Smith quickly helped make Will Howard into being a better thrower of the football. So entering year 2 for Jeremiah Smith, I do think his numbers are going to be better. But here's the weird part: he's going to get more attention early in the year because Carnell Tate is going to have a bigger role. Brandon Ennis is going to have a bigger role.
Mm.
Max Clare, transfer tight end, is going to have a bigger role at Ohio State. So until the other guys, the other receiving threats, are able to step up and to take some attention away from Jeremiah Smith, you're going to see him double covered against Texas. You're going to see
Oh,
him
yeah.
triple covered at times against Texas because you have to. That's the kind of attention you have to give him. But I do think when it comes to this year, with saying it's a guy who I think is going to be the starting quarterback, it's going to be a problem for a lot of teams out there, because I think the Sand Smith connection is going to be on full display all season long. You could be looking at Jeremiah Smith having 100 receptions, about 1,600 receiving yards, at least 15 touchdowns. And I'm not trying to just throw numbers out there to just say, oh, he's going to do this. No, I legit think Jeremiah Smith can do all of that this year with the way that I think Ohio State's going to sling the ball all around the field.
That's yeah, because your running backs are good this year, obviously, but you had a two-headed monster last year
Correct.
with Henderson and Judkins. So I think you're going to be pass first a little more this year, from what I'm gathering. You can tell me if I'm wrong. I know Ryan Day does like to run the ball, but I think honestly, I'm old school. If he's getting double teamed and dare I say triple teamed in some ways, and he's freeing up Carnell Tate and your other receivers more, and you're moving the ball, he's doing his job too.
Yeah, he is.
Doesn't show up in the stat sheet. It's not like
Mm,
sexy, but he's doing his job. And
he
if
is.
he's still putting up those numbers when every defensive coach is spending all week trying to stop him, I mean, Oregon was a little arrogant how they covered him last year in the Rose Bowl, and you saw what happened there. I mean, we won't have to go into that, but that was the game that I don't know. He was great all year. I knew about him in high school. Um, I just knew he was a special talent. Um, Now, I what really got my attention was I think it was after spring last year. Didn't he get his black stripes like after the second practice or something? Second or
I
third?
want to say 6 or 7.
It was a record
Could be
for a true
wrong.
freshman.
It was a record, and 6 or
For a
7
senior-
may be too far, but it was within the first 5, I
Yeah,
believe. I gave myself a couple just to give me a little bit of a buffer,
and I went,
but
yeah, a little,
he was the quickest person to lose his black stripe. And for those that don't know what losing the black stripe
oh yeah,
is, it means you're officially a Buckeye. Now you might say, Jay, he's on the team, he has a jersey, he has a number, he's in the roster. Yeah, all those things are true. But it's almost like it's Ohio State's initiation process for you to really go through the grind and to put in all the work in the workouts and to
mhm,
get on the field, hit a little bit, and to prove on the field, in the weight room, maybe even in the classroom, that you have what it takes to be a Buckeye. Because one thing I love about Ryan Day is that he doesn't shy away from the fact that Ohio State isn't for everybody.
mhm.
And you have to prove it. You can get an offer, you can commit, you can come on campus, but you still have to prove you have what it takes to be a Buckeye. And Jeremiah Smith was that. And it's still weird looking back at that a kid's coming in, I think he was 17 years old.
Yeah,
That's why I mentioned the maturity, the mental maturity and
yeah.
physical maturity earlier, because he's coming in, he's acting like he's been around Ohio State for 3 years, and he just got on campus. That's so rare.
I mean, the program he came from in Fort Lauderdale was top notch. His teammate was another 4 or 5 star. They were just a different school. They're a different
Yeah.
school. They're one of those types, like the school Brandon Innes came from. Another Fort Lauderdale guy, which is credit to Heartline, the job he's done in South Florida recruiting. It is not easy to recruit down here. I understand he played for the Dolphins, so that helped him a little bit. It is hard. And Jeremiah Smith, man, there were no fans, even Kane fans, that really thought they were still going to get him before signing day. And he came out after the state title game and said, Heartline's my guy. And I kept telling people that. I said, he's not going to go against Heartline. And it obviously worked out for him. So I just wanted to give that guy his flowers. I've seen a lot of great receivers in my day. I'm sure you have too, but this is one of the most special talents I've ever seen on a field. But and then after that, you as always have an abundance of riches. Carnell Tate, Brandon Innes. Carnell Tate's always been your solid number 2, you would say. Inside receiver. Play a little more outside this year.
No, I think he was number 3 last
Behind Ibuka,
year
right?
because of Buka. Yeah,
Okay.
he will be more. He'll be the outside receiver,
Okay.
and Ennis will be in the slot this year.
So this is his 4th year in his, and he's really paid his dues there. And
He
in this
has.
age of the transfer portal, that's unusual. So I'm rooting for that kid too. I like when to see the South Florida kids do well, unless they're at Miami or Florida. But the offensive line, do you have a lot of new guys this year, or is it
And yes, so it's
or,
weird because Ohio State's injury situation last year
right?
saw starting left tackle go down, backup left tackle go down, starting center go down.
Ugh.
You had to reshuffle things in the middle of the season, even in the playoffs. So I say there's new faces, but they're not new faces, if that makes sense. So they weren't
You got a lot of
original
reps.
starters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't original starters a year ago at the beginning of the season. A lot of them got thrust into starting roles in the middle to the season or even the playoff.
Mhm.
So they're first-time starters at the beginning of a year, but they got all 3 of these guys started at some point last year. There is a transfer from Rice and Ethan Ananwa, who's starting left tackle, who has the makings of being a future NFL player. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to get up to
Yeah.
speed from playing G5 level football to top tier football at Ohio State. But that's the left tackle, left guard through center, Luke Montgomery, Carson Hensman. Tegra Shabola and Austin Serveld. That's the starting off for the line for Ohio State. The guys that are left guard through center all got reshuffled and played multiple positions. Some played right guard, left guard. Hensman played center and left guard. Serveld played, I believe, left guard, right guard. I don't believe he played right tackle last year, but they all got valuable reps. All those guys started last year in meaningful games and were pivotal to Ohio State winning a national championship. So while the offensive line is a different makeup than it was a year ago, and it's not, well, these guys didn't start a year ago. Well, they did start a year ago. It just happened to be later in the year. I do think the offensive line is going to be well prepared for Texas in week one. And I don't normally say that about Ohio State in week one, because generally the offensive line is one of the hardest positions to build chemistry in the offseason. Yep. You build it in the season, but you got to get it right week one. You're playing Texas.
They have dudes there.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Ohio State can lose to Texas and still make the playoff. That's true. But you don't want to go into that game with new faces in new places and also in the game with a loss. That can cause guys to lose the mental edge. The team morale could go down, and it could lead to disaster. Now, one loss isn't the end of the year, but that game has so much riding on it. I know it's a non-conference game, but still, it's a big
one. I agree. Sorry, because think about it like this, and I think you really touched on something great there, is noon game, ESPN game day is going to be there. Fox Big Noon Kickoff is going to be there. It's going to be the most talked about game of the week by far. You lose that game and you're dealing with, and it's a noon game too. So you lose that game and you have all the 3:30 games talking about it and the night games. And when you lose a noon game, I think it's the worst because it's in the news cycle all day. And that night. Where you lose that night game, sometimes it finishes late. All right, the next day starts. It's an NFL day, even though it's week one.
You got time for a story?
Please.
So I think my wife is watching this right now, and
hello to your wife.
The first time we watched the Ohio State Michigan game together, it was really her first time really diving into college football. She really hadn't watched it religiously like we do now, and so she's gonna laugh when I'm telling this story. But I had a feeling she was. So that game happened. It was 2022. Ohio State lost the second game in a row. And we do live shows after every single game at Locked On Buckeyes. Win, loss, doesn't matter. Noon game, late game, doesn't matter. We still do a live show. So I'm at her apartment, and she sees my emotions, like literally on my shirt, just how I am dejected and down and borderline depressed after losing that game. And it's pretty bad, especially in 2022. You think about a fourth quarter long touchdown run to the right side. Think about another long touchdown run to up the middle to the left side. I'm thinking, how in the world do y'all let this happen where the linebackers' feet are just getting stuck in the mud and then touchdown. Right. Literally, it annoyed me. But anyways, we're watching that game, do the live show. She doesn't know what this game's all about yet. She has no idea. She hears me talk about it. She's learning in the moment.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, she's like, we got to go. Now, I don't know if she said that out loud. I was planning on watching the Iron Bowl, planning on watching more football that evening. I was so down. She's like, okay, turn the game off. Turn the games off. We're leaving. We drove 20 minutes away to go look at Santa Claus at a place I had never been before, but there were Christmas lights. There were Santa Claus. They had hot chocolate. They had cookies. And we were like, okay, like my... It's true. It's
right
true.
Before you said that, she said that, so I knew it. I'm like, oh, this is good.
And so, like,
that's love.
I understand the 12 noon thing. I understand it because if it was a 3:30 game or a 7 o'clock game, I would have had to deal with watching more games.
Yes.
And have people talk about, well, Ohio State just lost to Michigan again, and Ryan Day can't win this game. Ryan Day is a bad big game coach because the year before, Ohio State lost to Oregon week 2. The year before, Ohio State almost lost to Utah in the Rose Bowl. Utah, well-respected program. Ohio State should never have to kick a field goal late in the game to beat Utah. So it's like, that'd be stuff said about Ryan Day, but I get it, man. 12 noon games, They're
Ugh.
great if you win. They're great if you win. You're riding high all
Because you have all
day.
day to watch football and enjoy
They're
the rest of the
horrible
day.
if you lose. They're
If you
horrible
lose,
if
yeah,
you lose.
yeah. That's why. I mean, I wasn't thrilled with 3:30 against Bama. Obviously, we're two win team last year. We don't really dictate times. Um, but I wasn't. I wanted a night game, and just if we lose, all right, it is what it is. I always think the noon game is better for the road team. Uh, I've always thought that. I know times have changed a little. Now,
You
when
know,
I was a kid growing up, noon game was the primetime game. It was the marquee game. Not anymore, but obviously Fox loves that noon slot.
so I'm younger than you,
Yes,
but when I grew up playing, like when I grew up and got big into college football, I didn't care who played at noon. I wanted to watch ball.
same here.
And so to me, the primetime game was a big game. I remember growing up, it was Brent Musburger, well, Keith Jackson first. Keith
Okay.
Jackson, and then it was Brent Musburger and Kirk Herbstreit calling that primetime game. That was the game. I wanted to hear Brent. I wanted to hear Kirk Herbstreit on the call. And I knew that I was going to get a genuine, authentic broadcast of college football. I wanted that. The lights, the way that they raised their level of production for the game. I loved it. I lived for that. But that 12 noon game, you're watching College Game Day. You're picking the games along with the guys on the table. I don't care if it was Clemson playing at 12, Ohio State playing at 12. It didn't matter. I'm staying on ESPN to watch the 12 noon game because that helped me out. That helped get me the great appetizer I needed. And then I would turn to CBS, watch the CBS game, the SEC on CBS game, go to ABC and watch that game. That's just what we did.
Yeah,
I understand Fox's desire to dominate a window. I get it.
yeah.
You have to allow flexibility so that certain matchups and teams that in conferences you cover don't have to be noon games. If you can't go late and do a primetime game, make it a 4 o'clock game. It's better for you. It's better for the people.
Thank
You
you.
can get more eyeballs on the West Coast from people
Yeah.
that don't want to watch a game at 9 a.m. local, but they will watch one at 1 p.m. local because I think Fox will do a 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Make it happen.
Then you were going against us in Alabama or Clemson LSU. Like you said, they wanted to dominate that noon window.
I still think Ohio State, Texas, no matter
Oh,
who they're
it's
going up
still
against,
a ratings juggernaut.
it'll be the highest rated game of the weekend. So I don't care if you're worried about a window or a
Yeah.
matchup. Just being with that, you have one of the biggest brands in the sport in Ohio State, another one of the biggest brands in the sport, Texas. Two that'll give massive rating on. It don't matter if they're on Fox, if they're on ABC. Put them on MTV or HBO. It's going to be the biggest watch TV event of the day. So like,
I agree.
I get it. Change it. Allow yourself some flexibility.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. It was funny you brought up Keith Jackson. I went to an FSU USC game back in the day, and here he was. Like Keith was the guy,
Yeah.
the guy. Him and Bob Greasy. Keith was the guy. I'm leaving the stadium after the game, not long after, and the ABC trucks were always like right behind it, too, like right behind. You always had to walk around the truck to get to wherever. Times have changed. Who's helping with cable cords?
That's
Making sure
amazing.
things. Keith Jackson.
That's amazing.
Cable, like we're like that's Keith Jackson, like doing a production guy's work. We're helping out, and it's when I realized that man, no one's too big to ever do
No.
anything.
He
I
was
saw,
so good,
oh
man. He was so good. And
gosh,
I think he was perfect for the generation.
yeah,
I don't think his style would resonate with the generation today. And it's
no,
not saying that he would be horrible. No, I just think that the generation today
mhm,
desires something a little bit different than what he had in him that made him a great broadcaster.
right,
I think Britton Musburger could work today, but mainly because he would incorporate the betting odds and betting lines a whole lot more than current broadcasters do. So gamblers could really tap into what he is saying. I wasn't the biggest Chris Fowler guy when he first got promoted to being the lead guy for ESPN. I understand it. I am more of a fan than I used to be, but I also think he's figured it out. I think it was very, very hard to follow a legend of Brent Musburger and then have to try to live up to what he was.
yeah.
Fowler is not Musburger, North Keith Jackson. His style's different. And I think he's figured out his role and his pitch to be a legend at what he does.
I mean, it's key to be yourself too.
Yeah,
If
it is.
you try to be like them, it's not going to work. Keith was
No.
so unique.
Yes.
I mean, just every time that opening graphic came up and he came on, he would do a special thing to let you know, man, I'm at this stadium today, and this why this place is special. And he would get to the games 6 days before
Oh, I love that.
in Greasy. They
I
would be
love
there.
it.
They'd go to practices. They'd meet with the coaches. I used to see them walking around campus sometimes. Like you knew it was special with those guys. Obviously, now with their schedules, they can't be there that early, and I get it. But okay, man, that was awesome, man. That brought back a memory. Okay, so that's you went through the offensive line. That was awesome. Running back we talked about before. The two-headed juggernaut is gone. Obviously, it's Ohio State. They got guys that can carry the ball. Do you think it's going to be James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson as your pretty much 1-2 punch?
Yes, I have to put a third guy in the mix. Now he's not going to start, and he probably will not be the primary backup. But
Mhm.
Bo Jackson, I believe his legal name is Lamar Jackson. I don't know if he's a fan of the old Bo Jackson. I have no idea, but his name's Bo. Nickname is at least.
Great name.
He is going to be a true freshman running back that will eventually be a problem for people that are playing the Buckeyes. I do think Peoples is the favorite currently to be the starting running back. I have a hard time believing that he's going to be the starting running back the entire season. CJ Donaldson, the transfer running back from West Virginia, played 3 years there for the Mountaineers, over 2,000 yards rushing in his 3 years there in Morgantown. This young man came to Ohio State and dropped about 20 pounds approximately. I know he's down to about 218 pounds, was up to above 235 when he got above 235 when he got to Ohio State. And so I think he's coming in, putting in the work in the offseason, shedding the weight, getting in better shape to be a running back to fit what Ohio State wants and needs from him. People's inexperience scares me because one of the toughest things to do as a young running back is to pass protect for your quarterback.
Yep.
Now, when you're a seasoned guy, you're in your fourth year playing running back in college football, you already know how to be a pass protecting running back. Now, you may not be elite at it, but you know what to read, you know what to look at, you know how to step, you know how to pop, you know all of those little details that make you a great blocking running back. And so I think against Texas, you might not see Peoples on third down very much or in obvious passing situations because of the pass protecting reliability that he might be. I mean, liability that he might be. So I do think Peoples will start early. I think Donaldson will take over that role starting running back, but Bo Jackson's going to be right in that mix too. This young man has the goods. The older guys at Ohio State realize he's one of them ones, as Carson Hinsman said after a play in spring practice. I think Bo Jackson is going to be good. Like he's already one of, like I think he might be currently my favorite running back at Ohio State, and he
Wow.
hasn't played a snap yet. I mean, that's just how much I'm already bought into who he is, and just him as a physical athlete and what he can be at Ohio State.
Awesome. Well, we got a couple people in the chat who wanted to give you some messages. Sarah Bark, who's a big fan of you. Ban top 10 matchups on Fox News Saturday. I, I like how she just flat out said it because
We talk about it all the time. She is correct. No, that's one thing that has been a conversation for years.
yeah, absolutely. And your other friend Matt Schultz Finkler, I actually like big noon kickoff. I do. I don't like waiting and waiting and waiting for the big game. But if you're a fan going to that game, those night games, man, are just you have all day to watch the other games, and then your game.
I
And
will tell
it's
you,
nothing like
as
football in the
someone
lights.
No, it's so different. As
Yeah,
someone that does not like staying up late anymore, I mean, I'm normally, and I know I used to be able to stay up till 11, 12, 1 o'clock every single day and be
yeah,
perfectly fine. I can't do that anymore. The noon games are better for me as far as my sleep schedule.
yeah.
My fandom prefers the night games every
It's
day of
funny.
the
The
week is White
media
Sox Sunday.
always says they like the noon games because then they can actually finish earlier and watch the other games.
The media, the players, the coaches, at least at Ohio State, they all prefer the earlier game. I
Yeah,
get it. But man, I think one thing that is missed with Ohio State is with the noon games is recruiting. You can't get some of
oh,
these guys. You live in South Florida. If there's a young man that plays a game on a Friday night, it's going to be very difficult to get
yeah,
them from the stadium to an airport to be at Ohio State early enough to get into the shoe for
mhm.
a game that kicks off at 12 noon. It's difficult. Then if you think about some of the that's on the West Coast in Los
California.
Angeles, it's very hard for them to get from a game late at night, and all of a sudden it's a time zone difference too. So now, say your game gets over at 9 o'clock in LA, it's midnight in Columbus, you're almost not making it at all. And if you do, you're getting an hour of sleep, 2 hours of sleep. You're rolling in, trying to get the stuff out of your eyes, walking into the stadium. It's difficult. It hurts recruiting, but I think it's why a lot of coaches try to get all the recruiting done before fall camp starts, so that when you're able to focus on the football, you're not focusing on trying to land all the top recruits you need. You've got most of those guys already in the recruiting class.
That's a great point. And we've had that issue too at Florida State with those noon games because the nearest obviously there is an airport in Tallahassee, but after Tallahassee, the nearest airport's 2.5, 3 hours away. So a Friday night game is difficult.
Oh, dude, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, see, at least
Man.
you have Cincinnati nearby, you have Cleveland nearby, you got all these places nearby Columbus. Obviously, you have a major airport there.
Yeah.
Travel to Tallahassee, and then a South Florida kid, it's a 7-hour drive. So game finishes at 9 o'clock. There have been times where a kid is riding in the car after. It's tough. That's doing games. They do affect definitely the unofficial visitors.
Yes,
Uh,
100%.
let's see. Okay. Oh, sorry. We're gonna go defense now, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
Unofficial depth chart. Okay. Obviously, the heart and soul of the defense last year, Sawyer. He was so fun to watch. I watched one of your videos today. It was today. You talked about Caden Curry.
Yeah.
He's the guy I think you have on the watch list to watch out for this year.
Yeah.
I don't see him with the first team there, but obviously that means nothing here. What's your take on the defense? We're not going to go player by player. What's your take on the defense going into the year? Lost some key players, but you got Caleb Downs, who's like a Jeremiah Smith of the defense.
Caleb Downs is a dog. My thoughts about the Buckeyes defense is I personally wish they opened up with Grambling State instead of Texas week 1, because you're trying to replace 8
Uh-huh.
guys that got drafted from a national championship winning team.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go out there and get Bo Atkinson from the portal to bring him in from North Carolina. That's great. You can go out there and get Logan George from the SES level to bring him in from the portal. That's great. But in reality, you're losing a lot of guys that were 3 and 4 and 5-year players for Ohio State. I think the linebackers are going to be fine. Probably the strongest unit on the team, especially early in the year with Alvaro Reese and Sonny Styles. The defensive line with my thoughts: Kenyatta Jackson Jr., Edric Houston, Caden McDonald, and then Bo Atkinson right there on your screen are probably who are going to be the starting defensive line for Ohio State. I think they'll be fine. I have no problem with them. It's after them. I can trust Caden Curry. I don't know what I'm getting from CJ Hicks. He's moving from outside backer to playing on the edge for the first time in his career. I have no idea what to get. So I
Yeah.
know this is the best move for him in his career to potentially be an NFL draft pick. I have no idea. On the defensive backfield, you have Jermaine Matthews Jr., Davidson Igbinosun, Caleb Downs, Lorenzo Styles Jr., and Jalen McClain.
Okay.
Downs, I know what you're getting with Downs. I know what you're getting with Igbinosun. I think Matthews Jr. is going to be fine.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't comfortably say that McClain and Lawrence Jr. are going to be a force at their positions. I don't know. Personally, I think you should start Malik Hartford at that spot where Jalen McClain is at the other safety spot. I think that should be where that switch should be made. I think Malik Hartford has the higher upside. I think he's going to be a bigger player for Ohio State this year. So overall with the defense, I'm a little nervous for week 1 when you're going up against a team like Texas. Arch Manning has some starts under his belt, unlike Julian Sand, whoever starts for Ohio State. So that's a big thing to look at too, where you have starts. You've played in certain environments. You hasn't started in the shoe before, which is a different animal. But the defensive backfield kind of worries me. I heard somebody today, not saying names, because they cover Ohio State, but they said that the secondary can be what they're called BIA, best in America. I don't know what he's basing that off of. I can't comfortably say right now at this date in July that Ohio State has an opportunity to have a top 10 defensive backfield in the country, maybe even a top 5. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not sold on Lorenzo Styles Jr. I can get on the McClain train. I can get on the Malik Hartford train. I don't know if they're even going to put the right guys in the right positions, because I think even on the chart here, I think Aaron Scott Jr., Bryce West, or maybe even a true freshman in Devin Sanchez might be better for that nickel corner spot over Lorenzo Styles Jr., but he's older. His brother's on the field with him. His dad's in Ohio State legacy. They might put him out on the field in Lorenzo for those reasons. And if that happens, I can't be a fan of it if he's not the best player. Put the best players out there to play. I think the defense will be fine. I think they're going to take some lumps and have some major obstacles against Texas. But I think, similar to saying, games 5, 6, and 7, they'll be able to figure out their role and come into their own and know how to handle some big time environments because they got to go to Camp Randall this year. They have to go back to the big house this year. It's tough. Those are some tough places to play.
That speaking of that, you segued perfectly from me. That was a great analysis there of the defense. I got the schedule right here, and I was looking at it too. What I like for you guys is all right. You got Texas week 1. That's some dogs, but then you got 2 weeks to figure things out. Then you go to Washington, who's obviously you're better on paper, but it's a tricky place, tricky trip. What are your thoughts on the schedule? Any traps you're looking at? Anything?
Actually, yes. If you go past the first 3 games of the year, where Texas, Grambling State, and then Ohio, the Ohio Bobcats, that is, those are 3 home games on the shoe. 3 different time slots too. So it's 12, 3:30, and then 7. There's an off week. After that, there's a 4-game stretch, and then there's actually a 6-week stretch in that setup where you're at Washington, you're home against Minnesota, and then it's on the road at Illinois, on the road at Wisconsin, an off week, and then home against Penn State. I think that 4-game stretch and then those 5 games in 6 weeks will tell a lot about Ohio State and to really show if they're a true contender to win the national championship because that game at Washington is tricky. Luckily, it's after an off week. So you're able to figure out, do you want to travel? Do you want to travel a little bit earlier? Do you want to travel a little bit later? How are you going to adjust to the time zone? How are you going to adjust to potentially the heavy rain, which is going to be there in Seattle? There's a lot there. And then you have to prepare for that environment. And like Ohio State noticed a year ago in Oregon, football is a little wild in the Pacific Northwest. It's a whole lot wilder than you might suggest. Now, I don't think it's wilder than football in the South. I'm not going that far. But there are some crazy wild fans out there in the Pacific Northwest.
It gets loud. It's going to be louder.
It gets so loud. They even have the covering over part of the stadium to shield from some of the rain, and it traps all the sound inside. It's one of those things that I think Ohio State in that game against Washington, you're going to have to tap into some of the stuff you had to deal with against Texas. Not the same caliber of opponent, but Washington is talented enough to be there and to upset Ohio State. I don't think it's going to happen, but you have to handle that game properly because at Washington, you come back home against Minnesota. They just gave PJ Fleck an extension through 2030. I don't understand why you would want to extend a coach that is mediocre at his job, but so be it. It's Minnesota. They're comfortable being average. That's homecoming. That's homecoming. Okay. You're playing three road games in 4 games. That's tough. Illinois is a team that I think could make the playoff this year. I never thought I would say that about Illinois, but Brett Bielema is a coach that's doing some really good things. That's also a sneaky, weird rivalry game where they play for the Ella Buck. I don't know when that started. It's been a while since Illinois beat Ohio State. They don't play every year. I kind of wish they did. It would intensify the rivalry. But after that, you got to go to Camp Randall. I don't think Wisconsin's going to be good this year, but they are led by a former Buckeye in Luke Fickell, who's also the last interim head coach at Ohio State. He was the coach in between Tressel's departure and Urban Meyer coming in.
His teams always are going to play you hard.
They are.
Maybe they don't have the talent you guys do, or they don't. That's for sure. That environment is insane. We know that.
Yes.
His teams will always come out to punch you in the mouth.
Yes, they will.
You have to be ready to respond against Luke Fickell team.
Yes.
And they're always 100%. Prepared to. And they're always prepared to. So that's what I'm saying. I know you got the bye week between Wisconsin and Penn State, but I think that's the key part of the season. Those two.
So I want to say something really quickly. Over at Locked On, we do a weekly Big Ten squad show where it's a bunch of us Big Ten hosts that kind of talk trash and poke fun and talk bad about other teams in the Big Ten. Like it's generally just a bunch of guys talking that are sitting around a bar. It's kind of a fun show.
Good talk.
And recently I was I got into a mode of hyping up Penn State, and I look back at that, and I don't think I said anything false. Ohio State's owned Penn State for about 10 years now.
Mhm.
And even though those games are very physical and Penn State's a
Close.
well-respected program, I don't trust Drew Aller. He's not the best quarterback Penn State's had over the past 20 years, even 15 years. I don't trust James Franklin in that game. It'll be a low-scoring game. It'll be a physical game. You will have both teams needing a lot of ice after the game. I don't think Penn State's going to beat Ohio State this year. Not at all. So, yes, the off week, I believe, is right before
It's
that
in
game. So
Columbus.
you have a physical stretch at Wisconsin, an off week. It's at Ohio State. It's Halloween weekend, which is perfect. If Fox is smart, they'll make it a night game, get the blackout jerseys for the game against Penn State. I would advocate for that now. I don't have any way to get a hold of Joel Klatt, as I know Joel Klatt has influence about what games Fox tries to draft in the TV draft. Make that game a night game. I don't care. Now, granted, you may have MLB playoffs that day, which would eliminate any college football game being at night. I get it. I understand the contractual obligations you have. But if there's any way to get that game off of 12 noon, do it. Absolutely do it.
If they could
Because
have
that
you guys
game
in
to
Happy
me,
Valley at night, they would. So I
that
can't
game to me, it can literally be another Ohio State's second top 3 matchup of the year. Because I don't think Penn State's going to lose before that game, and Ohio State could very easily be undefeated in that game.
Yeah.
Make that game any other area outside of 12 noon. Don't do it at noon. No. You'll make more money if it's at 4 o'clock than if it's at 12.
I agree. I don't care about the baseball playoffs at this point.
No.
I don't. Now maybe because I'm a college football junkie, but I think after that, it sets up into Michigan, man. Making the trip to the big house. I'm planning on, as of now, fingers crossed, the Rock and Roll channel will be there this year.
Okay.
Hope you're there. We're not going to get into that matchup now because you can't talk about that in July.
If you bring it up, you're going to get me to get a very emotional.
No, I don't want you emotional where your wife has to take you out Christmas shopping in July. Because I don't know what
she would do it.
Yeah, so we're not going to get you emotional there because I know the feeling on my side. But I think that's what I was going to say. The schedule was that Wisconsin-Penn State stretch.
Mm-hmm.
The bye week sits perfectly there for you. And that Washington game. Those were the two things I noticed the most. Michigan's always there. You're always ready for that. You know that's going to happen. But, man, anything you want to talk about this team, about anything you want to promote, please. I have had such a great time talking to you tonight, Jay.
I really enjoyed this. A couple things really quickly. Make sure you follow Locked On Buckeyes. We're coming at you every Monday through Friday on YouTube. Told you.
She's awesome. I said she's awesome.
I will do that.
Yes.
Every Monday through Friday, we're live. We have shows coming out Monday through Friday on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, or wherever you get your fine podcast. Breaking down the Buckeyes, leading into Big Ten Media Days, leading into fall camp, leading into week 1 against Texas. We do live shows on YouTube at the Locked On Buckeyes YouTube page after every football game. Once you get into basketball season, we're going to try to incorporate more live shows after basketball games as well. It's a fun time talking about the Buckeyes. But this Ohio State season is going to be special. I believe Ohio State has the opportunity to do something that has never been done in Ohio State history, which is win back-to-back national championships for the first time in the storied history of the Ohio State football program. Ryan Day's a really good coach. He's a solid coach. He is right on the track to be a college football Hall of Famer. That's all great. If he wins back-to-back national championships, that's great too. But let's go back to something we talked about at the beginning of the show about an hour ago. He has to beat Michigan. If there's one thing Ryan Day has to do this year, aside from all of the other things you talked about with the Texas game and Penn State, you have to beat Michigan. You don't want to be the coach that has a national championship under his belt, but has lost 5 straight to the biggest rival on the schedule. You don't want to do that. So for Ryan Day, seems like everything's going well. Jeremiah Smith recently talked about how workouts have been harder. The team's mindset has shifted. The culture is the right way for it to be, for the Buckeyes to be successful this year. That's all great. Cool. I've heard this before. Workouts are tough. We're working hard in the offseason.
Yeah,
we're shedding pounds. Body counts low. I've heard it for years, man. Beat Michigan.
Yeah.
That's it. It's Michigan. Yeah, 12th game of the year, Thanksgiving weekend. I don't care what the record is of them. I don't care what the record is of Ohio State. Beat Michigan. You do that, you go to the playoff, and take care of business there. But don't look past Michigan. Don't look to the next week to potentially play in the Big Ten championship. Focus on Michigan. Here's a weird thought. If Ohio State treated every team like they were Michigan, they blow everybody out. So you would think. But recently they have been able to have a pretty good game plan against Michigan. So I don't know what to expect that game. I know you didn't want me to talk about that, but I had to do it anyway.
No, please. I'm glad you did. I just didn't want you to think I was harping on the sensitive subject.
No.
I'm curious to see how their freshman quarterback, how he does this year. It's going to be two freshmen right there.
They should have gone to a portal to get somebody. I would not give the reins to this program when they're in the midst of turmoil and potential major backlash and penalties because of them stealing signs. I don't care if you say, "Oh, they didn't steal signs." Everybody steals signs. Stealing signs is legal. Stealing signs the way they did it is illegal, and they're going to get the hammer. I don't know if the NCAA is going to vacate wins or remove their national championship win. I don't know. But I know they're going to get the hammer. Mm-hmm. Having a quarterback like that in this year, putting him in the spotlight, that could tear apart that man's morale, tear apart that man's mental edge, could tear that man down. I don't think they should have put this young man in the fire like this, but Sharon Moore is an offensive line coach who is the head coach. And when he's doing that, he might be orchestrating and working in an offensive line mentality saying, hey, get out there, get reps. You just need reps. The earlier you can get reps, the better. That might work for offensive linemen. Not for the quarterback.
He's a special
team. He is special, but I still think they should go into the portal, get somebody with a little bit more experience in this year to allow him to wait a little bit. They can. I think their defense will be solid. I have no problem saying that. Their defensive backfield and linebackers are going to be really good this year. Defensive line, work in progress for Michigan, but Buckeyes got to beat them. They have to beat Michigan. Talk about Ryan Day in press conferences, and I talked about that earlier. Ryan Day in a press after losing 5 in a row to Michigan. Woo, man, that's gonna be some thick air in that room. I don't think it's. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, but I'm hoping for the best for you guys too. But man, Jay, I'm gonna put your stuff in the description. Your Perfect. Twitter and Locked On Buckeyes. I'm gonna keep up with it too, so you might see me chiming in there now too. Your favorite somehow. But thank you so much for your time, Jay. Anything you want to say in parting?
No, this was fun. I hope we can do it again sometime. I will say that I will be rooting for Florida State to beat Miami. I don't know if Florida and Florida State play this year, but if they do,
every year,
I can't get on board. I can't get on board with that one. I got to go with the Gators. I got a buddy that used to live in Gainesville. Been there once. Never been to Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, but I will have to go to Gators over Florida State now.
Yeah, we play them every year. It's mandatory. But thank you so much.
Wasn't there a point in time that you guys didn't play the other two every year?
It's really Miami that has that issue.
Okay.
Miami doesn't play Florida. Miami's playing Florida they played them last year, they're playing them this year, and then they'll go 12, 15 years without playing.
That's stupid.
It's terrible. Miami fans, listen, I don't like either side. But for the most part, it's Miami fans that hate it. Florida has really ducked that game for a while, here and there. They're forced to play us every year because we're both state schools.
Gotcha.
They get out of the Miami game here and there because they're a private school. And then they use the whole, but we're in the SEC, we don't really need to play them too. We play you guys.
That's wild.
I don't agree with it.
So wild.
The big three should be playing every year.
I agree.
For a state championship. I agree 100%. And at least Bobby Bowden said I could always say, Bowden scheduled Miami when he didn't have to.
Good man. That's a good man for you.
I've lost a lot of national titles, and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Because I played him every year. But, Jay, thank you so much. I had such a good time, man. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Anytime, man. Just let me know. Hit me up. I'll try and be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk more as the season, during the season, too. Take care, everyone. Jay, thank you so much.